mensen, van harte welkom. Mijn naam is Lilian Ferru en mijn gast voor vandaag is Michael Rhodes. Naar aanleiding van zijn nieuwe boek hebben we dit interview. This interview is in English. Michael, welcome in the Netherlands.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to this.
I'm really honored having you here. Congratulations with your new book.
Thank you.
Can you shortly introduce yourself for just a few people who don't know you?
Well, my name is Michael Rhodes, and I originated from England, in Cambridgeshire. When I was quite a young man, in my early 20s, with my late wife, we emigrated to Tasmania, which is the island state of Australia. And there I became a farmer. You know, I left school very young and worked with my father on his farm in England. And then when he died, we emigrated to the island state of Australia. And there I continued farming, but I became a dairy farmer. And didn't want to be. I wanted to be a beef farmer, but I became a dairy farmer. And while I was there, a lot of questions came up in me. Like, it was obvious to me that all my neighbours just followed a process of farming rather than farming what I would call intelligently. And I began to look at being a more conscious farmer, moved into organic farming and began to talk about that. But all this, although I was making changes on the farm, the biggest changes were taking place in me. And somewhere in this process I asked the question, who am I? And that who am I then eventually, after 12 years, took me out of farming, took me around Australia. In the caravan, we sold the farm, we travelled around Australia, and we had 4 children. And during that time I started a community, an intentional community, spiritually based community, and we had a vision. But it very quickly became obvious that as more and more people joined the community, they had a very different vision, and it became diluted. I think for me, I wanted to explore sort of body, mind, spirit, and we called ourselves a centre of light, homeland centre of light, but they didn't like the centre of light. That was embarrassing. And so after 4 years I left. And I probably took the light with me, although I didn't realise that for many years. And so I realised this journey was my own journey to take. And so my journey took me, unfortunately I had a program of pain and suffering.
Yeah.
So I suffered a lot on my path, which you've only got to visit the hospitals and you realise many more people are on the same foolish path. But anyway, I suffered a lot. And when I was around about 40, I was metaphysically journeying by then. I'd learned to travel away from the body while my body was awake, rather than astral travelling. This was metaphysical travelling. And I was with a being who was a very elevated being, and I said to this being, I didn't want to play this game any longer. I said I want to be spiritually enlightened by 50 or dead. And the being looked at me for a few minutes as if to say, are you sure? But didn't say anything, and then finally nodded. And I thought afterwards, oh God, what have I done? But I'm an Aries, and my nature is to move fast and forcefully into every situation. And so by 49 and 3 months, 50 was not an option. I was in big trouble. Anyway, obviously, identity died, but the body didn't. And the spiritual enlightenment happened, and from that point I just wanted to quietly retire from the world, but life had different ideas. And I started 25 years ago travelling the world as a speaker and as a spiritual teacher. It took me a long, long time to come to terms of being a spiritual teacher. I just didn't feel I qualified. But eventually I did come to terms with that. But even today, I don't really class myself as a spiritual teacher. To me, there is 2 ways of living life. One way works and the other way doesn't. And about 94% of the population lives in a way that doesn't work. It doesn't make it wrong or bad, but it doesn't work. You can be a multi-millionaire and all that, but it doesn't work toward as regards to longevity and health and inner joy and living in a way that, for instance, I live with no anxiety. I don't know, I've forgotten what worry feels like. I almost could say I never get tired, sleepy, miss a few nights sleep, but I never get tired. I don't get stressed, I don't get angry, I don't criticize myself, I don't judge myself, I don't compare myself. I have a beautiful relationship with myself,
Yeah.
and that works.
That works. Michael, I have a lot of questions. So, first of all, what is the best news you can tell us
The best news?
today?
The best news is that you're a magnificent, metaphysical, multidimensional, immortal being of love and light. That's the nice news. Doesn't matter how wrong we get it, we have forever to do this. But we're in a particular ending of one cycle and the beginning of a new cycle. Mm-hmm. And we're in a time now where humanity is going to be polarized.
Yeah, so I read that in your book. There are two ways, or the old one, it's still the same habits repeating, or the new direction.
New direction,
yeah.
Yeah. But there's no right or wrong, good or bad, should or shouldn't, reward or punishment. There's nothing of that. I think the main thing is overlooked in humanity is in every moment of your life, you are the creator of the direction and the content of every moment of your life.
Every moment.
Every moment. There's no time out. You can't even have an espresso or a cappuccino, if you like that sort of thing, or a cup of tea. Even now, listening to me, you're creating your every moment of your life. So in this moment, in every moment of your life, this is everybody, we are creating the direction and the content of every moment of our life. People don't know that.
How come there are so many people ill, for example?
Example, yes, but you see, you get ill when your thoughts attack you. Now, how many people, I often ask an audience, just for a bit of fun, is there anybody in this room who never criticizes themselves? There never is. Is there anybody in here who can tell me how well it works for them? Nobody says it works for them. The third question is, has anybody in here stopped doing it? No, they haven't stopped doing it. And then I point out, that's a definition of insanity.
Yeah.
A definition of insanity is to continue doing something that you already know doesn't working for you, hoping for maybe better results.
Is that a lack of love for yourself?
Of course.
What is love in your opinion?
Well, there's only one type of love. You see, everybody thinks love is an emotion. Love is not an emotion. Never has been and never will be. Love is the power of creation.
Yeah.
You know, the world wasn't created from an emotion. And yet many people accept that love is the creative energy or the creative force, that God is love. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, an emotion didn't create the world. God is not an emotion, heaven forbid.
What is God?
God is, let's just simply say God is love. I could go into that more deeply, but I don't think this is the time. Because many people have their own strict views on what is God, and I don't need to jeopardize their views. Mm-hmm. But let's just say God is love. So loving ourselves, it seems to be the most difficult thing of all.
Yeah, that was one of my questions.
I didn't
Why
find it
are
easy.
people so afraid of love? It's so difficult to love
because
yourself.
you
It's
see,
so difficult.
the whole point is, when you think love is an emotion, people don't know how to love because they think love is an emotion. We have 3 levels of emotions. Low level, as an example, low level, how are you today? Not bad. That's a really negative statement because not means nothing, and so they're saying bad.
Yeah.
Then a better one, how are you today? Now, Europe, fine. So that's mid-level, fine.
Yeah.
And then how are you today? Magnificent,
Yeah.
wonderful, great. Now that's a high level of emotion. Now at that level, that's when we feel what we think is love, what we call love. So when we see somebody we love, we have this, our emotions rise. And so because we love them, we therefore think that this rise of emotions is love. But that isn't what love is. That's just a rise of emotions. And until you love yourself, you cannot love another person.
I totally
Because
agree.
there is nothing outside self.
Yeah.
Although that's a difficult one to explain as well in a little time. And so, loving yourself, I went through a process of not learning to, when I let go of my late wife. You know, after a year she'd been gone, talking to me, communicating, and I was still hanging on.
Mm-hmm.
Now fear hangs on. It's not love that attaches, it's fear that attaches. Emotional insecurity attaches. Fear attaches, but love, you can't attach to love, and love never attaches to anything because it's a freedom song.
Yeah, yeah.
And so when I finally let go of her, knowing, as she'd recently told me, this is the end of our journey together. And we were married, I was married at 21. You know, we'd known each other and been together over 50 years, although we were married 49 of those. And so when I let go of her, and that she was going to be moving on, to me, I didn't realise it because this was not an intellectual process, but for me that was an act of unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
Although I didn't think that, it was just something that was
Natural,
appropriate.
yeah.
It was a time to do it. But when I let go of her, I found myself completely enveloped in love. And that love was unconditional, and I still feel enveloped in love. There are times when I can lose that feeling a bit, but I don't lose it for long, because I move back to being conscious of love. So I love myself unconditionally, and I trust myself unconditionally. This is why I don't experience all those negatives I just mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, I don't experience them because if you're trusting yourself fully, how can you have anxiety? Anxiety is a measurement of the lack of trust
Yeah.
in yourself, in other people, in life.
Yeah, exactly.
People see life as an outside of self event. It isn't. It's an inside of self event. So basically people live in the illusion, deeply, deeply, deeply in the illusion. Anything out of this moment is not real.
You answered already 10 of my questions.
Good. That's the way I do it.
So I really like your book, especially the part of the clouds with the photons and the quantum physical parts where the light is going to the people who are open-minded for love. So one question, love is not personal. It's neutral. It goes everywhere. But you wrote in your book that the photon of love goes only to people who are open for
No. You've slightly misinterpreted that. It goes to people who... Everybody has a relationship with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your relationship with yourself is your relationship with life.
Yeah.
And it's life's relationship with you. It's your relationship with everything. It's your relationship with you. Now, people who have a beautiful relationship to with themselves attracted those photon flakes. It attracted them. People who didn't like themselves repelled them.
Okay.
So love is not a kiss you up and kiss you on the lips and make you better. Love, in fact, if you're heading down, love will take you down faster and harder.
How do you mean?
Well, let's say I was in a community and we were struggling. You know, we didn't really have a clue what we're doing. But we thought we could love everything. Just love it all. But we didn't know how to love. Love was a word. Everybody on the planet understands what the word love means, but how many people experience it?
Yeah.
I'll give you a nasty part here, and a really nasty part.
Shoot.
94% of humanity, it is estimated by psychologists and psychiatrists, lives subconsciously.
Yeah.
You cannot love subconsciously. Now that's scary. You can only love consciously.
So you have to be awake to love.
Not so much awake, but you have to be conscious. And that's certainly part of the awakening process. It depends how you use the word awake. If you mean the word awake as being aware, yes. If you mean the word awake as being enlightened, probably you don't have to be that to be able to experience love. You know, every human being can experience love, but it begins by them loving themselves.
Yeah.
So these photon flakes, which are flakes of love, you could say, but they're not love in the way that humans express it. Those photon flakes are light, are a measurement of light, and that light is permeating everything on this planet, and it will continue for a long while yet. It's permeating everything that is open to change, open to love, open to compassion.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt you've attracted your share. You don't see it physically because it's metaphysical.
But you can feel it,
But you can,
I guess.
your feeling of lightness will increase. Your feeling of happiness will increase. You'll be less a seeker of pleasure because you'll feel a happiness inside you.
Yeah.
But in office blocks, it can float through a whole huge building. And in some office areas, they repel it. The energy repels it. Because love doesn't force itself on you, simply because every human being is already love.
You have to invite it more or less.
We're the manifestations of love, but you see, this is a big subject. When we are love, but the paradox is we have to create love to love ourselves. We have to create that to know what love is. And people are not creating it. Most people have terrible relationship with themselves.
Yeah.
I never criticize myself. I don't meditate. I wake up in the morning, I realize I'm still perfect today, and that will do me for today. I don't need to meditate on it. Now, I'm not being arrogant here. I mean, every human being is perfect. I do intensives, 5-day intensives. I don't go there to change anybody because I know they're perfect, but they don't know that. In fact, they don't believe that.
Yeah.
In fact, many of them don't like themselves very much. They would not admit to it. But if you're going to attack, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. Psychologists will tell you most of those thoughts are attack thoughts. That's 200 to 300 words a minute. Most people, their subconscious talk that they're not listening to is self-attack. This is why we have all the hospitals.
Okay.
People put themselves in the hospitals simply because they're not conscious of the beautiful being that they actually in truth are.
Yeah.
And so they live this is what we mean by the illusion. Everything out of the moment is part of the illusion.
You also said that the people who are in love and who attracts the light are getting more powerful. Plus the selfish people are going to get less power.
Okay,
So that sounds like really good news for me. So the change is happening.
No, I would like to see all humanity move into this, but it's not going to happen because in every moment of our life, we are the creators of the direction and the content of every moment of our life, and no light is going to come in and change that. We're here to learn creation. That's why we're here.
To learn.
And the only thing, therefore, if you're learning creation and you create your life, you learn what works and what doesn't work, what gives you joy, what makes you sad. We learn those things. Most people are it's very difficult to make people realize that they are the creator of their life because they'll say, oh, but things happen. Nothing happens as random. Jesus said in the Bible, not a sparrow falls.
Yeah.
Now, most theologians don't understand what that means, but what he was saying is nothing is out of order. So we create our lives, our whole life. There's no such thing as an accident. There's no such thing as chance. There's no such thing as coincidence. So we have large groups of people with which we've incarnated many times. And we're all interplaying this stuff out all the time. There's no good or bad, right or wrong, should or shouldn't. We are creating our lives. So if you're creating a life that draws in more love and light, obviously you get more powerful. If I have a body and I don't feed it, it'll get weaker. If I feed it good food, it'll get stronger. If we bring love and light into our lives, we get stronger. If we don't bring those in our lives, physically we can remain the same, but nevertheless we have less energy coming into us because we're beings of energy. That's all we are, energy.
Yeah. So what happened in 2012? You say did something happen, but what exactly?
2012, we're supposed to have all the bells and whistles
Yeah,
at the end of 2012. Actually, a lot happened. You see, in this life, we look on ourselves as physical beings. We're not physical beings, we're metaphysical beings. And on this planet, the metaphysical precedes the physical. Always.
Wait.
So what is the metaphysical?
Yeah.
That is which is beyond the physical.
Yeah, okay.
So we have a physical body and we think this is who we are. But that body is not you. You are a magnificent, unless you prefer mediocre.
No, I'm great.
Okay. So you are a magnificent, metaphysical, multi-dimensional. In other words, only your body is three-dimensional. Nothing else. If you take away all the content of you away from that body, you have dementia.
Yeah.
Because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Everything that's metaphysical is withdrawing from the physical. And that's a terrible situation. There's one now every 7 seconds happening. Every 7 seconds there's a new case of dementia. So from the moment I started saying that, there's another new case of dementia. And so it continues every 7 seconds. New case of cancer every minute.
Yeah.
And one dying every 3.5 minutes. Now, okay, we don't want to focus on that. But the point is, we're not doing well. And so at the end of 2012, there was a cycle come to an end. In many ways, we're closing that cycle. Because we've been incarnating for a long time.
Yeah.
About 200,000 years. You know, let's just take a figure, 50,000 incarnations. But steadily, we've been becoming more and more subconscious. Now, if you're going to grow in consciousness, you have to be conscious, obviously. So every species on this planet is fully conscious. It lives all the time in the moment. The planet is fully conscious in the moment. But we've become a species and are not fully conscious in the moment. We've become a species that is subconscious, and subconsciously you cannot be in the moment. So our potential, we're not living. We've grown intellectually, but the problem is there that this is nothing on life is an intellectual expression, including us.
Yeah.
We're designed to be an expression of conscious intelligence. Now, conscious intelligence has not polluted the planet. It's not emptying the ocean of various species. Conscious intelligence doesn't make our world's water undrinkable.
Yeah.
There's so many places we have to buy bottled water. Like most of America, you can't drink the water. Many parts of Europe, you can't drink the water. In some parts, you can. And so we're heading on a trajectory downwards. We're getting a higher technology. We have a higher technology, but we're not using it in a way that benefits us. We could have used telepathy. We use the phone. And so we pick at our brain with electronic energy that we didn't need to. We could have gone the way of telepathy. We could have gone a different way, but we're not going that way. So we're following the way of the intellect and clever. But the problem is clever holds hands with stupid.
Yeah.
Clever people are filling the hospitals.
Yeah.
There's nobody in hospital where they have a ward for people who die of unconditional love. Because you're inclined to live a long time when you unconditionally love yourself. You know, I'm 79, I'm 80 next year.
You're looking great, Michael.
I feel great. In fact, I feel better than 20 years ago. Now, that's not an accident.
Yeah.
You know, people say getting old is serious stuff. Well, if this is getting old, bring it on. I can do more of this.
Yeah.
And so we all make choices. And choosing love is my message to the world. That's a choice.
Yeah.
So here we have this incredible paradox. We are beings of love who have to create love to know what love is. Because we came here to learn to create. And
that's the point of living.
And that's the point of living. There's no free rides. Like trust. Very few people trust. What do you think the insurance companies live on?
Yeah.
They live on our lack of trust.
A fear for
Of
the
course.
future, or maybe this happened,
Of course.
or disaster, or...
The insurance companies live on fear. That's what they're fed by, fear. And so in some countries now, in Australia, some insurance is compulsory.
Yeah.
So I have that. Anything else I don't have. Because I have no fear.
Yeah.
You know, I don't fear. I don't have any fear. And so we live in a way that creates our world.
Yeah.
So what you do, every human being creates their own personal world reality. Now, all the personal world's realities fit in a country's reality. Like there's a Dutch reality,
Yeah.
consensus reality, an Italian consensus reality,
And
an Australian
yeah.
consensus.
Yeah, okay.
Then there's a bigger one of Europe. Then there's a world consensus reality.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond all that, there is a greater reality. That's where I live. I have to use aeroplanes because unfortunately I have not yet learned teleportation.
You have to
I'm
practice
working on
more,
it.
Michael.
I'm working on it. We'll get there. But so we use. It's like you live in the dream awake. You live in the illusion. You see the illusion, and the illusion doesn't control you. But there's certain things in the illusion you have to live. You have to use. But everybody creates it. So in this, they create their own reality. So in this greater reality, it's like you come out of the chicken run.
Mm-hmm.
Now chickens are just as divine as eagles,
Yeah.
no question. But eagles fly to a greater reality. They see a greater picture. And there's not so many eagles in the sky as there is chickens on the ground.
Yeah.
Now, no way am I saying eagles good, chickens bad. I'm not saying that. But if you want, chickens have wings. But they never learn to fly. They just say, oh, this keeps my back dry when it's raining.
Yeah.
But those same wings could lift the chicken off the ground and he could fly, or we could fly with the eagles, but
Like
we don't.
Jonathan the seabird. Sea eagle.
Sea eagle.
Yeah.
Well, I like sea eagles, but that's
He
beside it.
lift himself up from the floor
Yeah.
flying higher than the rest.
So this is what we do, is lifting ourselves, and as you fly to a higher vision, and it does take a while to get those chicken wings working. It took me a long, long time to get my chicken wings working, but now I fly and see a higher vision of life, a higher view of life, a greater reality of life. But that was my choice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most people in my youth, when I started this, they said, you're mad. I said, yeah, quite likely.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the way I'm going, because that who am I button had been hit and there was no other way to go.
Yeah. In your book,
Oh, that's a fantastic book.
the new book of Michael, the Dutch book, you say
If you haven't read it, it's the best book you've never read.
it's a good book. It's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
fascinating trip through the universe, the planet, also the people. You look.
I'm not sure I like the word trip, because sometimes tripping goes with drugs.
Yeah.
And that is
wait.
journeying.
Very important question about drugs. Wait. Now we're coming to that. Listen. You travel also with your mind on the planet and the plants, and you see the woods, and you talk with the trees, you talk with cows and cats, etc., etc. So you know the plants, okay? Good. The question is
Not all plants.
Huh?
Not all plants.
almost all plants. You have plants like the coca plant, the marijuana plant. You have in the jungle an lian, a kind of a tree. They make tea out of that. We call that ayahuasca, DMT. You have the desert with peyote. So, and all these plants give you a kind of a psychedelic trip. Normally, you do that with shamans, with a ceremony, and you travel with your mind through the astral world.
Actually, it's not with the mind,
What
but
is
that's
your
beside the point.
opinion on that?
I think I give freedom to everybody to do whatever trips they like to take. I'm reminded of Ram Dass,
Yeah.
who did 2 weeks on LSD, and he did 2 weeks, and he said the problem is with all the drugs, when you come back further away than when you started.
How come?
Every time you come back, you're a bit further away than when you began. Now, when you consider, we are entirely spiritual beings.
Mm-hmm.
You see, everybody's got this I am a body fixation. and then they believe they die.
Yeah.
We're not born and we don't die. We're spiritual beings. So,
I like that.
so if we're spiritual beings, why do we need anything to help us move into the energy of all life? Now, I'm a metaphysical being, which is a spiritual being. I've learned long ago that this is not my prison, but most people think it is. You know, they drive somewhere in a car, they don't say, I'm a car.
Yeah, exactly.
They get out
and
walk away. Well, I came into this body as a spiritual being, as a soul. The soul I am came into this body, but the soul I am as a child began to realize, hey, I'm not a prisoner here. And so I began to move out of the body. Now, this isn't necessarily to do with the mind. This is simply the fact that I am a metaphysical being. Therefore, I'm not confined to the body. Your consciousness that is you is 3 times bigger than your body.
Yeah.
Everybody's taught your body contains your consciousness. That's half the statement. The consciousness you are contains the body, which also contains your consciousness.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
I agree.
So I move away metaphysically with my body wide awake.
Without any drugs
No.
or medicine or plants or
Of course not.
whatever.
Why on earth would I take those?
But a
Nobody.
lot of people can do that.
Yes, but you see, they've got a belief that they're locked in. And so therefore they've got to find somebody with a key to unlock them. And so then they get let out. And then they come back in. And every time they do that drugs, they're going to need more of the drugs to get the same effect. It's like people eat sugar. Gradually you get so used to sugar that you need to eat more and more sugar to get the same effect of the kick that the first lot of sugar ever gave you. So by the time we're middle-aged, we are taking huge quantities of sugar, which kills our body, but that's another subject altogether. And so we don't need drugs. Why do people do it? Because they've got the wrong belief system. They believe they're locked in their body. They believe they need a drug to get out of their body. And if they believe that, then because they're creating their reality, the content and the direction, then they've created a situation where they do need a drug to get out. Foolish.
But it is dangerous or dangerous?
If they were to look at their astral body and their metaphysical body and their aura, they will find that every time as they increase their drugs to get away, they're poking holes in it. They're poking holes in their energetic body. And that is not a good idea.
No.
So do we need it? No. But if the people believe that they need it, then so be it. Then they need it, but they don't need it.
Yeah.
You see, we create, when we believe we need a drug to get away from the body, then we've created a situation that says, I've got to have a drug to get away from the body. To me, that's ridiculous. You know, I'm a spiritual being. I'm not contained by this body. I never have been, nor's anybody. So why do we need a drug to get us away from a body that doesn't contain us?
Yeah.
You get it?
I get it.
To me, it's pretty simple.
So thank you for the answer. You also said something about your waterbed that almost killed you. So
Why?
your water.
Oh,
bed.
yes, waterbed. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
an interesting
Yeah.
one.
So what about TVs, computers, radiation, stuff like that?
They all have a negative effect. There's no question about that. I mean, when the first microwave ovens came in,
For example.
when they first came in, they had a note in with them saying, do not eat the food for 20 minutes when it's taken out the oven.
I never had one.
Because it's still oscillating.
Yeah.
It's still vibrating. They didn't sell them. So, easy answer to that, take away the warning. So they took that out and now they sell them. But most of them are on the kitchen bench and most people lean forward to open them. So there's a direct correlation between breast cancer and opening the microwave doors.
Wow.
There's a direct correlation. I know a researcher in London who has made the link. There's a direct correlation. They don't do anything with her research because who wants to know that? You know, you've got to remember this company, this world is run by the big organisations, the big
Pharma,
big Pharma, etc., etc. I mean, they run the world. They don't run me, and they can't run anybody's spiritual life, but they can have a huge input into their physical life.
You said something about it.
But we're not physical
Yeah.
beings. Once again, we're not physical beings. And so when you take responsibility for yourself as a spiritual being, it affects your physical being. It absolutely does. I mean, today we're in a craziness that the biggest industry in the world is human sickness.
Yeah.
Not human health, human sickness. And it's getting worse. And Big Pharma tells us that in 20 years the dementia will have doubled, and so will cancer.
Yeah.
I thought Big Pharma's idea was to cure us.
Yeah, exactly.
But it isn't their idea to cure us. It's the idea is to sell drugs.
Yeah,
I think they're wrong. I think it'll increase quicker than that.
exactly.
Because people don't care about their health. Although there is a big increase of people who are realizing my health is my responsibility. For instance, now we've got the second ridiculous situation, food supplement tablets, supplementing our health with taking tablets. That's now an enormous industry.
So what do you mean with tablets?
Taking like vitamin C, all these vitamins, all these supplements.
Yeah.
There's so many supplements, it's a huge industry now. And it's called the alternative. Because of not enough goodness in our food, so that's supplemented. Now at least half the Western population takes those.
Yeah.
But the problem is, if you take in, shall we say, a tablet with vitamin C, you pee it straight out. But if you go to the superfoods,
Yeah.
which are some very good superfoods on the
The
market,
Goya.
then it goes into your whole system,
Yeah.
and it's a better way to do it. But there is definitely an increase and an upsurge in people who are looking after their health, and maybe we'll do it wrong many times, but eventually people will get it right.
Michael, is the body and also your health just a reflection of the mind, and it has nothing to do with food, supplement, medicine? If you believe you can get ill, the chances are larger that you really get sick. Instead, if you are in joy and in happiness, and then it's not possible to get sick at all. It's just something in the mind.
I wouldn't make that too sweeping a statement. Yes,
believe
if you've
that's
got a good
Mind over
relationship with
matter.
your life and a good relationship with yourself, then your chances of getting sick are greatly, greatly reduced.
You know, I still smoke, etc., and I'm healthy, and I feel great, and I'm happy.
But there have been enlightened people who get cancer.
Yeah.
And we would say, how does that happen? I
Yeah.
could explain all that. But your point is correct to a degree. To a degree, the better relationship you have with yourself and with life, the more open and loving you are, the less fearful you are, of course, your health is going to be better, absolutely. But most people fear death.
Yeah.
You know, a common belief, I've got to save all my money for when I'm old and get sick, and then I'll need my money
Yeah.
to pay for my sicknesses. So it happens.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I believe the cosmos provides everything I need, and everything I need is already there.
I go along with that. To a degree I'll go along with that. Not to the degree of just throwing away all self-responsibility, but when you create what you're talking about and you also accept you're responsible for yourself, then I would fully agree.
I am the creator, so I
Of course you are.
take the responsibility of everything that's happened to me. So I don't blame the world or the people around me. I did that.
We're sitting on the same piece of string.
Yeah.
We're sitting on the same piece of string. I agree absolutely. The world is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's full of beautiful people.
Full of miracles. You have to see all
Exactly.
the miracles, plants.
This is why
flowers.
This is why you're not normal.
Yeah, I'm not normal.
God, you don't want to be. Exactly. Who wants to be normal? Normal's a fatal disease today.
Yeah. So last night I had a dream about my cat, Cosmo. Cosmo was such a nice cat, and I really, really loved Cosmo. So he died here in the garden. And last night I had a real clear dream about him. You wrote in your book, Reiziger in het Multi-Universum, about your conversation with a cat, and also you didn't believe that first, but now you do believe that animals can have a human consciousness, more or less. Well, that struck me as odd.
Okay, let me explain that. For 40 years, to me, if a human soul, if a human soul incarnated into an animal, that would be devolution.
Yeah.
And I was challenged on this, and you see, I create my reality. So if somebody challenges me, instead of dismissing them, I look at, I'm blocked. I have a block here. So somebody's got to come in and challenge my block. So I create somebody to come to me to say, could you be wrong? So my openness says, okay, maybe I could be wrong here, because I wasn't going to question myself. So I create somebody else to do it for me. We all do this.
Yeah.
Except then we say, I don't like them, they're wrong.
Yeah.
But I look at it differently. Okay, so I've been asked this question. This is interesting. I will look at this. And so I said to Pam, this is something I need to look at. And so I found myself on an organic farm, very small one in England, with the 12 Jersey cows, which are just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Lovely farming family, absolutely adored their farm and every animal. And there's this cat. And so I'm looking at it, still blocked, and can't see anything. And finally I said to Pam, so what am I supposed to look at? He said, you really are blocked, aren't you? And I say, hey, I'm open here, I'm open, I'm doing this, I'm here, I'm looking. And then finally I'm looking at the cat and getting a bit more serious about this, and I realise that there is a human soul in this cat. Now this is not a common thing, but it can happen, and there's always a reason. That soul comes into an animal, if it does that, for a reason, and almost always that animal will be connected with humans. It'll be a pet, it'll be a horse, it'll be a dog.
Also.
And there'll always be a reason for that. And sometimes the reason is very unpleasant, that they've got to experience something, and sometimes they're there to learn something. They know it will be a fairly short life by comparison, and they've already discussed that with their soul guide. Will this work for me? Now in this cat's case, the man who had owned it, John Bunce, the man who incarnated it had several incarnations as a very rigid Christian in a very rigid order. You know, there's some very tight orders, and then he had a very rigid outlook on life, and he liked to have pets, but he despised them because they had no soul, because that's what his religion taught him. And over again he would get his pets and then despise them, and caught up in this conflict of wanting them and then despising them because they have no soul. And so in a discussion with his soul guide, the soul guide said, look, give it a try. If you incarnate into an animal, then you're going to change your whole perspective, and then maybe you'll have a different view of it and you'll get past this. Because this soul, this soul really wanted to move past this block that he had. And so he incarnated as a cat, not a dog, because he said dogs get too fond of people, and he wasn't ready for that. So he wanted to remain a bit more aloof as a cat. And he found that yes, this cat, this dog, these animals do have a developing soul. It's not a human soul, but he came in with a human soul and realized that these are developing a soul and that they need not be despised. So he'd already learned what he needed to know. And a man, J. Allen Boone, many years ago, 60 years ago maybe, wrote a book, Kinship with All Life and Strong Heart. Kinship with All Life and Strong Heart. And he was very connected. But Strong Heart was the dog who taught him so much, his dog. Strong Heart was his guide soul. And so the soul, because he wouldn't listen otherwise, but when the guide soul incarnated into a dog, then he listened to the dog. And so every human being has a guide soul, but how many take any notice? How many even believe it? They're completely shut off from it. And so we have to find ways to open ourselves to life, to a greater reality, to a bigger picture, and to the fact that we have guide souls who could help us. When fear says help, they're not available. When love says, I need help, they're there.
Yeah.
Because fear is the wrong energy, of course.
Yeah.
It pushes away.
It's just an illusion, right? Fear.
Yeah,
So
that's an
doesn't
interesting statement. God did not create fear. We create it. So when you create it, then if it's an illusion, it's an incredibly powerful one. It has no reality.
But we believe in it. That's
People believe in
Yeah.
it. And then they talk of my fear.
yeah,
And so now they've personalized it.
yeah, exactly.
So at that stage now, it's an illusion still, but it's a reality, a self-created reality that is not a real reality,
yeah, okay.
which is but it's an illusion that kills, and most people die from it.
Yeah. Now we're going to go through the universe.
I didn't think we'd left it.
We're going to go up and higher. In this book, you write also about our galactic friends.
Yep.
You go through a black hole. You visit cities of light, which are huge. You go to the sun. Well, it's too much to talk about right now.
Absolutely.
But so I really like to know about the galactic beings, the light beings.
Let me give you a view of looking at it.
Yeah.
We live in a single universe. In that universe, there are probably 100 billion galaxies. In those 100 billion galaxies, there are probably 100 billion stars, and another 100 billion solar systems.
It's huge.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
We're just in one small solar system. You know, you can travel our solar system in 1 light year if you travel at the speed of light. And that's considered a small one.
Yeah.
And we're on the edge of that because the locals said, if you're going to put a kindergarten in, we don't want you too near. You know, so we're right on the outer edge because this is a kindergarten planet.
Yeah.
So now you get a sort of slightly bigger view of it. So moving out into our solar system was basically what I did. And incidentally, the Pleiadians tell us there are 490 billion universes.
Yeah.
Which are not all switched on at the same time. Which are not all switched on at the same time. So the human ability to use mind can't come close
It's
to comprehending that sort of scale of life. And so in our solar system and in our galaxy there are many, many other beings.
Yeah.
But the problem is we send out a three-dimensional probe. And it only looks for three-dimensional life. The three-dimensional life is a fair way down on the scale of life. It's a fair way down.
From the lowest from the lowest,
and
almost.
And so there are many, many levels of life, far higher than our three-dimensional one, but no probes can tell it. There is life in the sun, but it's nothing like a life that we can comprehend.
Yeah.
It's like it's a form of gas, which is, and to them the sun isn't even hot. But then if they were to come here, they would be annihilated.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't live in our atmosphere any more than we could live in theirs. And so you get so that there are, I've met beings, for instance, one being, as I described, was like a world. And I saw it moving along. It was about 5 meters in diameter. And I'm sitting just watching what's happening out on my little piece of the solar system. And this thing comes along. And it comes over to me. And I said, well, how do you know I'm here? And it said, well, you're radiating. You're just simply radiating your thoughts in every direction. Have you never learned to shut down? You know, telepathy is directly to one being, not to every being in the galaxy, which you're doing. I said, well, I never learned any other way. This is the only way. I have learned since, but this is the only way I do it. And I'm not concerned. If anything comes along, fine. And so this thing is telepathic, but not in words. It doesn't use words, it uses images.
Yeah.
Well, as a very right brain dominant, that worked well for me. And so we're exchanging images. And I realised that, you know, I don't have a clue what this thing's about. So it says, well, put your hand on me. So I put my hand on it. And I realized this thing is like, this being is like it contains a whole galaxy. It's filled with planets and stars, etc. And I just can't understand it. And then it says to me, but you're the same. I said, well, actually, I don't think I am. Oh, yes, you are. You've just been speculating on it. You know, if you were to open your self body up, then and take all the and put more space between every cell, then you're like a solar system in yourself. And I realized, yes, that's true. And so they educate me in their own way. And so I was with this being and had an amazing. I came away knowing things that I'd never even dreamed of. And then when I go into the black hole, and I learn more things that I didn't dream of. When I come to the planet, which is creating itself, because it's so intelligent, it's like a satellite planet which is building itself and creating itself, a very high intelligence that that I refer to as shimmering beauty. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I go on there, and I'm with the Seine people,
Yeah.
and they show me some of their creating for intergalactic travellers. They're creating environments that they can come in. And then I see this Aratanash.
Yeah.
And I mean, the thing that make our whales look small.
Yeah.
It's in a gaseous substance that's full of bubbles. I mean, I'm just completely, utterly jaw-dropped, I mean, looking at this thing. And then I realise it's intelligent, and it swims between... You see, they exchange information as energy. So you need to realise everything is energy. All energy carries information. There's no such thing as energy that doesn't carry information. And all information is communicating the whole time.
Yeah.
We live on this planet just deaf to everything.
Really?
In this garden, everything's communicating.
Yeah.
Let me just finish. And so this Aratanash, as it's communicating, it swims between stars and planets. Now we create the idea there's enormous space out there.
Yeah.
But then that's our creation again, because we believe in linear time and space.
Yeah.
But it's not actually like that. So this being has a symbiote within it, which is an Aratana, which is a symbiote. And so these two highly intelligent life forms live in a complete symbiosis, experiencing life in a completely different way from us. A totally different way. Neither could live without the other. Then we couldn't live without our mitochondria. If we didn't have mitochondria, which outnumber the cells of our body, we couldn't live.
What is mitochondria?
The mitochondria, it's a microorganism in our bodies that
Yeah.
has its own DNA and its own
Yeah.
RNA.
Yeah.
Now you could say that's a symbiosis with us because we couldn't live without it. We couldn't have a physical body. We couldn't draw a breath. We
Yeah.
couldn't blink. We couldn't think. And yet when you're criticizing yourself, we're taking their energy away from them. We're denying them energy. When, like you're loving yourself, whoa, the mitochondria say, this is I like being with this lady. This is fun.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, on our scale, we have a symbiont with us. We are in a symbiotic relationship with mitochondria and others. Well, so when that happens on a gigantic scale, the mind's inclined to boggle, but when it's pointed out to you, you're doing the same thing. I say, well, okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And so my travel, then I like to share it. You see, when I put it in a book like this, I share the possibilities, the potentials of what it is to be human.
Yeah.
To step out of the prison of the body, to step out the many belief systems that imprison us, to step away from everything that confines and restricts us, even stepping away from our preoccupation with safety and security. You know, everybody wants to be safe and secure, but the price is limited, restricted and contained. That's a hell of a price.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's what hermit crabs do.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be hermit crabs.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be humans being. Human being. We're not even being human. We're just... And what's behind all this? Our old friend fear.
Yeah.
It's always fear behind it. So when I travel out, I show people their potential, the possibilities of a greater reality that exists out there. That life is vast, not complex, vast beyond any comprehension.
Yeah.
But it's not scary, it's not dangerous. We're born, designed to be consciously connected with the galaxy and to travel the galaxy. We don't need drugs, we don't need spaceships, we don't need any of that.
What about spaceships and UFOs?
Well, of course they're out there, yes. I mean, there's
So a
plenty
lot
of
of
them.
people are busy with that subject, like, oh, UFOs are coming, Obama is going to tell us all the secrets.
I mean, UFOs have been here for the last million years.
Yeah.
You know, we're a pretty primitive species. They've been visiting us for eons of time. They look at us and say, they are so savage, those people.
Yeah.
They attack themselves and they attack each other. Because all our thoughts that attack us means we're emotionally being attacked. It kills us.
Mm-hmm.
It kills us. When we grow up and we're able to love each other and love ourselves, then we'll find that there is, and I'm serious about this, there is a huge galactic federation who are ready to say, okay, now you've grown up, come and join us, and we'll show you all your brothers and sisters of other dimensions, of other beings, of other species. We'll show you what's out here. But at this stage, you're still in the kindergarten. You're still bashing each other over the head.
Yeah, but right now, just because of that, we need some help from our galactic friends, right?
No.
So when we grow up, we
no.
don't need help anymore. But
No.
when we are needy...
No. That's wishful thinking. And I like the idea. But we are here to learn to create. And if people come in and do our creation for us, we've learned nothing.
Yeah, but
And
they
so
can give us lessons like, first of all, when you love yourself, you create better things than when you hate yourself, for example. This basic idea is for a lot of people still hocus pocus.
Every great teacher that's ever come to this planet has always been talking about unconditional love. Every great master that's ever been here, Jesus, Zoroaster, Buddha, all of them, and the lower, all the masters of the rays, they're all about putting that here. We have so much help, and still we live in isolation of our own creation, of the separation of our own creation. We are so deeply embedded. This is why we're coming to the end of an age, where those humans are open to the new will move one direction, and those people who want to repeat more of the same will move in another direction. There is absolutely no judgment in this. There's no good or bad or right or wrong or should or shouldn't. We each create our own reality. And this has been happening forever, and it will continue for a long while, another forever. This is the way it is. This is life. This is what we're doing, creating the universe as we create our lives, as we create everything. Everywhere in the country over the next 20 years there's going to be a polarization of human energy. Terrorism over here. If we choose to run and scream, that's survival. When you know you're an immortal being of love and light, there's nothing to fear. And when you don't have fear, you don't attract bullets. Some people could say this is crazy. There's always a timing to truth. And a truth out of timing sounds crazy. But everybody will be polarized. It would appear that Trump is going to do a fair bit of polarization in America. And nothing is ever by accident. You can't have a Trump by accident.
Yeah, we don't judge.
Nothing. There's nothing. You know, he's a maverick. The system has sunk into apathy over there. The whole political system. It's not bad or wrong, but people are not interested in it because whatever they do, it doesn't work. It doesn't help them. What they've got to learn is that they have to help themselves, and that every political system is a reflection of the consciousness of the people there. And in America, that consciousness is ready for a polarization, and Trump's a perfect person to do it. As far as I'm concerned, he's as mad as a hatter, but maybe as mad as a hatter is exactly what they need. And maybe it'll happen in other countries yet. But over here, the polarization, the catalyst is terrorism. But it's going to happen in every country. There is going to be a catalytic energy that moves people into where they will be. I would say to everybody, once again, my message is choose love. When you're under pressure, choose love. When there's an opportunity to be terrified, don't go that way. Choose love. In every moment of your life, you are creating the content and the direction. When you choose love, you are creating the content and the direction which will take you into your greatest potential. Every situation that comes up, when you're in a one-on-one slanging match with somebody, I don't mean you, but then choose love. When somebody's arguing with you, just let go. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Choose love. Everybody, every day, has 1,000 moments when they could, okay, I'll choose love.
Yeah.
You don't have to win an argument. Just choose love. Choose love. Choose love.
We will,
Consciously
Michael.
choose
We will choose
it
for
works.
love, for the heart, and for...
It works.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you very much for writing.
Thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed this. You're a fun lady.
This mind-stretching book, I really recommend everybody to read it, to see what is possible, and we are not just prisoners of a three-dimensional world. There's so much more. And I'm funny, and you are so wise and so beautiful, and I love your eyes, and thank you so much for coming. And I hope to see you again. En u ook hartelijk bedankt voor het kijken. En tot de volgende keer.
Thank you.
Kisses from Michael. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure.